Maryland football collapses yet again in the second half, losing its third straight game. Men's basketball and field hockey lose in heartbreaking fashion, while women's basketball and wrestling pick up wins. All that and more coming up on this edition of The Left Bench.
This is a team that's going to get some momentum and play.
That's going to go up with the chemistry now that's being built.
Welcome back to The Left Bench, brought to you by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Owens. Of course, with Eddy Calkins and Eddy, we've got to start the show by talking about the hottest team in College Park right now, Brenda Frese and Maryland women's basketball.
Yeah, the Terps brought in 7 new transfers this offseason, and they've all contributed to big-time wins, but none other than Calkins Smeichel, the Rutgers transfer. She's put up 20-plus points in 4 straight games.
And we can't forget about key returners Cheyenne Sellers and Bree McDaniel. Both have been key to helping the Terps gel these first 2 weeks. And the team's chemistry was on full display versus Towson on Sunday. The number 11 Terps got to work right away. Maryland opens up the first half with its highest scoring quarter this season, shooting 68% from the field and 71% from 3. Towson gets 4 quick points, but Maryland responds with the help of Sarah Tibiasu's 3-point shooting. Tibiasu goes 3 for 3 from 3 in the second quarter to keep the Terps up a steady 54-40 lead into halftime. Terps start slow in the second, but Cheyenne Sellers' 4 consecutive points and Sailor Poffenbarger's 2 threes give the Terps their biggest lead of the game, 72-48. Maryland brings in the bench and improves to 5-0 in the 98-63 win over Towson. Head coach Brenda Frese says this team has a chance at becoming a championship team.
Those have been our championship teams. I've shared that with them. The national championship team had 5 players that averaged in double figures. We have 7 right now that are all averaging over 7 points, and that's going to go up with the chemistry now that's being built.
To help break down what has gone right for the Terps so far this season, we're joined by Ben Geffner, the women's basketball beat writer for the Diamondback. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, so Ben, let's start with the preseason poll. Maryland was ranked number 18, and so far they've beaten number 11 Duke right here in College Park, just won a gutty one at Syracuse. So how has this team performed so far to the preseason expectations?
Yeah, so expectations were pretty high coming in. They were ranked 4th in the Big Ten preseason poll, number 18 nationally. They've sort of leapfrogged up since then, up 7 spots to number 11. You mentioned that big win against Duke last weekend, really a resume-building quality win early on in the season. They lost a couple of those last year versus UConn and South Carolina, so a big way to get back on track to start. And a lot of questions, more questions than answers for this Maryland team coming in. You mentioned the 7 transfers, 3 freshmen, 10 out of its 15 players were newcomers. So a lot of questions about, how would this team click? How would this team sort of fit together? And so far, they've gelled pretty nicely. A 5-0 start. They're undefeated to open. In the last game versus Towson, they won by 30, and 6 of their players logged double figures. The first time that's happened in 3 years. So safe to say, I think they're exceeding expectations.
Now, Maryland only had 5 returners come back this year, but they brought in 7 new transfers. How much of an impact have they had so far this season?
Oh, they've had a massive impact. 7 transfers. That's tied for first in the Big Ten with Oregon. And it all starts with Calkins Smeichel, the do-it-all, Rutgers transfer, a 3-level scorer. She can shoot from beyond the arc, get the mid-range going. She's lethal from, inside the paint, guys. And Calkins Smeichel, 20 points. You guys mentioned 20 points in her last 4 games. Every game this season, she's logged double figures. So the go-to scorer for this Maryland team, and she's kind of filling that void that Jakia Brown-Turner left last year on the offensive end. Now moving into more of a facilitating role, Sarah Tibiasu, the VCU transfer, she's really taking a lot of the pressure off Shy Sellers and Bree McDaniel offensively, right? You have Sarah Tibiasu, she's known for her point guard facilitating offense, and that's what she's done for Maryland so far here, this season. She's really passed the ball really well and taking up that point guard spot along with Kendall Walker, another one of these freshmen, but taking the pressure off some of Maryland's primary scores, allowing them to play off ball more but still get those looks, just not to be the primary focus of the offense. Last one I'll give you guys, kind of a trio here of transfers. Christina Dalsey, Sailor Poffenbarger, and you mentioned coming in off the bench too, just to go back on that for a sec. Christina Dalsey logged 14 rebounds a couple games ago. She's really a do-it-all, big man down low for this Maryland team. And then Sailor Poffenbarger, again, can do it off the bench as well. A lot of this bench depth coming early on in this Maryland team. And the third I was mentioning there, Amari DeBerry. And for Coach Frese and company, she was really mentioning earlier on this season, it's a lot about attacking the deficiencies that were left from last season. A lot of that, taken up in the rebounding and defensive categories, and those three do a great job of combating that. So all these transfers just are really big impact all season long. Yeah,
there's so many transfers. I mean, you got lost in your words there because there's so many to remember. But let's stop with the transfers real quick. There's two big returners that are here. Cheyenne Sellers, who's become more of a facilitator this year, and then Bree McDaniel, who's coming off the bench. How are those two, how important are they to this Maryland team?
Yeah, they're huge for this Maryland team. A lot of questions around this identity of this team, and to have these two returners, 2 of 5 returners is so crucial, and they were 2 of the leaders on both sides of the ball last year. Shy Sellers offensively, Bree McDaniel defensively, and it's so much of a luxury to have Bree McDaniel coming off the bench now this season, not in a starting role, but just to provide that instant spark. Coach Frese talks about having that dog mentality, and Bree McDaniel certainly provides that alongside Allie Quebec, another one of these returners here for Maryland. For Shy Sellers, she talked about after that win over UMBC to start the season, talked about the wear and tear earlier last season of just playing so many minutes, logging so many minutes. So she's still going to have that impact, but now to have other transfers coming into the fold and sort of taking away from those minutes and letting Sellers play more freely, opening up the floor will just pay dividends for this Terps team.
Now, looking ahead at Maryland's schedule, we see their next biggest test is going to be USC. They're ranked number 3 currently right now, but this will be in January. But they also have other games coming up with ranked opponents like Texas, Ohio State, just to name a few. What are they going to have to do to be able to prepare for these big-time games happening next year?
Yeah, so that's still a few months away. They're really the ranked teams they're playing in their schedule. But for Maryland, Coach Frese and company just really taking it day by day, attacking each game at a time, not looking too far ahead. But for Maryland, especially for USC, they're the number 3 team in the country. One of these scoring offenses that, some of these USC players just saying, why not let it fly on offense? You have Juju Watkins, Kiki Van Oslan. USC logged 120-plus points the other night. So just one of these high-powered offensive teams for USC. And for Maryland, the key for these games is going to be keeping pace offensively, right? They went just 2 for 13, kind of a nightmarish from beyond the arc, 15% against UMBC in their season opener. But since then, they've logged at least 6 threes in all 4 of their games after the fact, 66% against Towson a couple days ago, 11 threes. The last time they did that was in March in the NCAA tournament loss. So for Maryland, it's just about getting going offensively. The defense is already there. But if they can get going from beyond the arc, again, there's no one path. There's so many places for this Maryland team to strike against these ranked opponents, but it's going to be crucial to get the 3-point game going.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really all we have time for today, Ben, so thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You can follow Ben's coverage on X at Ben Geffner and at dbknews.com.
As for men's basketball, they had their toughest test so far this season Friday night when number 15 Marquette came to Xfinity Center. And this one absolutely lived up to its hype. The first half belongs to Jacoby Gillespie. He scores 14 points in the opening 20, giving Maryland a 4-point lead at the break. Now the start of the second half, and Marquette's Cam Jones takes over. Jones finishes with 28 points and gives the Golden Eagles a comfortable lead down the stretch. Marquette up by 8 with less than a minute to go, but the Terps decide to make things interesting. A couple days, Sean Harris-Smith buckets brings the deficit down to 2 with 36 seconds left. Now with 15 seconds to go after Jones misses 2 free throws, DHS is fouled underneath the basket, setting up a chance to tie the game. Harris-Smith at the line, and he misses both, and the Golden Eagles win in instant classic 78-74. Evan Willard on the sequence that sealed the Terps' fate.
We got to the free throw line. I think Selt missed a 1-on-1, DQ missed 1, and obviously Deshaun missed 2. So 5 free throws in the last minute. And that's part of the growing process of being in tight games. We've won our first 3 games by 30 points. There was no pressure on anything. So now to see guys and see how they handle the pressure, that's just a good learning experience for them.
Maryland football is at risk of missing its first bowl game since 2020. With just 4 wins on the season so far, it's safe to say the Terps needed one against Rutgers on Saturday. This one was defensive to start, but it's Maryland with the first touchdown of the night, but not until halfway through the second quarter. Ty Felton puts the Terps up 10-7 with that toe tap grab on a historic night for the senior, the new single-season reception leader in program history. Felton got it going in the air, but the ground game was working against Rutgers thanks to Roman Hemby. 146 yards of total offense from the redshirt junior, including this 1-yard touchdown to put Maryland back up 17-14. One-score game through 3 quarters, but eventually it's the Scarlet Knights that break it open. Rutgers QB Ethan Kalimakis finding his form at the perfect time and gashing the Maryland secondary. The Terps offense put up a bagel in the final 20 minutes as Rutgers wins it 31-17. Here's head coach Mike Loxley on the Terps' rest of the season after the game.
We didn't get it done today, and we're running out of chances and opportunities, and we've got to find a way to get this thing fixed. Iowa's coming off of coming here next week off of a bye week, so it's going to be important for us to get back in here, figure out how to get us going again.
After holding Heisman hopeful Dylan Gabriel to a season low in passing yards last week, Maryland football secondary took a 180 against Rutgers. 17 unanswered points in the second half put the Terps in a loss column for the 3rd week in a row.
Our Ben Wolf breaks down what went wrong for the Terps defensively this weekend.
After Maryland football started the second half with a Roman Hemby touchdown, Rutgers would change the narrative for the rest of the game. A defensive collapse by the Terps led to Rutgers scoring 17 unanswered points. While Rutgers features a dominant backfield with Kyle Monangai, the Scarlet Knights beat up the Maryland secondary with quarterback Ethan Kaliakmanis throwing for 238 yards and 2 touchdowns.
At the end of the day, it comes down to we got to make plays that are there to be made, and today Rutgers made enough of them, and we did not.
Kaliakmanis' go-to target was Dymere Miller, who hauled in 8 catches for 107 yards and a touchdown. Throughout the half, Rutgers sustained drives by consistently converting on 3rd and 4th downs, gradually wearing down the Maryland defense.
When we're faced with adversity, man, we're never backing down from it. So it's just all about us executing.
With a 31-17 loss to Rutgers, Maryland must win its final 2 games to keep its bowl chances alive. For Terrapin Sports Central, I'm Ben Wolf.
And Eddie, as we can see on Saturday, the defense looked like they were struggling, but they still have 2 games left, Iowa and Penn State. So we're going to see what they can do and if they can pull out these 2 wins to become bowl eligible.
Yeah, Penn State, a top 10 team in the country, and it's no easy place to play in Happy Valley. So they're going to have to do some work. But first, of course, Iowa this weekend. So we'll see how that goes, if they can fix everything up and really win the second half.
Yeah. Now don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we'll talk about freshman star Derik Queen and his success so far this season.
Plus, I sit down for an exclusive one-on-one interview with women's basketball head coach Brenda Frese. Stay with us.
Julie was always a voracious reader. She'd carry 2 novels on an airplane because she'd read one on a 3-4 hour ride. And at some point, I began to notice that she would read a page and couldn't remember what she had just read, and she'd have to go back and read it again.
I don't remember much these days after I read, but less does for me, and I love it.
Welcome back to the Left Bench, presented by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Eddy Calkins alongside Drew Owens. And Drew, there is so much excitement in the air for college basketball to be back here in College Park.
Yeah, and then there's one player that everyone has been talking about here on campus.
Yeah, of course, we're talking about 5-star Derik Queen.
TSC's Wesley Schnell joins us in Studio B to talk about Queen's impact and how he can impact the game. Wes?
Guys, the 5-star is living up to the hype so far this season, and with this promising start, the Terps are going to have to rely on him heavily to have a shot at a run come March. First, though, let's look at Queen's numbers to start the season through the first 4 games. DQ is averaging 16 points per game, tied for the most on the team along with Jacoby Gillespie. He's also averaging 7 boards, 2 assists, and 1 block a game. And of course, we have to mention his debut, 22 points and 20 rebounds. Queen's ability to clean up the glass is going to be key if Maryland wants to have success this season. Queen's start has been historic, but how have other teams used bigs effectively and more importantly on the glass? UConn, last year's national champs, finished in the top 3 in all of college basketball in total rebounds, along with Purdue, UConn's opponent in the chip. The third team was Illinois, who UConn beat on the way to the title. 3 teams who cleaned up the glass, and we see how far they went in March. As for Queen, his rebounding ability is going to be key, put to the test for this year, but will be critical to deep season success. He had a strong outing on Friday against a great Marquette team, finishing with 24 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 blocks. Defensively protecting the rim and rebounding his way to keep the Terps competing late against the 15th ranked Golden Eagles. And next to Juju Reese, we could see some huge rebounding. And guys, Terp fans have been waiting for the start of the DQ era. He's here, and he's making sure everyone knows it. His scoring contributions are huge, but it's going to be critical he cleans up the glass this season, especially when March comes. Back to you.
Yeah, Wes, thank you for that. And Drew, it's going to be really important. Obviously, Juju is a huge part of that offense, but with another player to get rebounds, it's just going to be huge for Maryland to get into conference play.
I agree, and we've seen how much Queen has done already in these first few games. People are going to see what he can do more and how he can impact the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Well, Maryland field hockey has made an NCAA record 34 straight tournament appearances, but this year's run ends earlier than most. The Terps drew the Duke Blue Devils in the first round of the NCAA tournament, hoping to avenge a loss from earlier this season. The first half, though, a defensive battle. Alyssa Kilbasco saves this one right here as we head to the second half scoreless. 6 minutes into the third quarter, Duke's Kira Curlin scores, giving the Blue Devils a 1-0 lead. And that's all Duke needed as they take it 1-0. It's Maryland's earliest exit in the Big Dance since 2015.
After being eliminated from the Big Ten tournament early, Maryland men's soccer earns their 41st NCAA tournament appearance. The Terps have been to the tournament 23 of the last 24 years as they missed out last season. They will host Long Island University Thursday. The last time these two met, LIU bounced Maryland out of the first round in the tournament. The winner will head to North Carolina to face number 8 seed Wake Forest.
Maryland volleyball has had a roller coaster ride of a season so far. And this past weekend against Penn State, the ride took a bit of a dip. The Nittany Lions open up with an early lead in the first set and capitalize on a 9-1 run, which hands PSU the first set 25-13. Set 2 and the Terps trade blows, but it's Samantha Schnitta with the kill, propelling Maryland to a 25-22 set 2 win. Her Terps had a 19-18 lead, and they were the first to 20. Strong defense, including a nice kill by Samantha Schnitta, propelled the Terps to a 25-22 set win. Maryland starts hot in the third set, but Penn State shuts it down, with more of the same for Penn State as they win the fourth set 25-13 and taking the 3-1 match win.
Just couldn't find any sort of offense running, so it's a very good team. We know we're not a top 5 team, but some positives and some things that we obviously would have liked to execute a little bit better upon, but obviously I understand Penn State's a very good team.
Maryland wrestling has been off to a hot start this season. After wins from Kent State and Bucknell, the team continues that momentum with the win against American. Playing at a neutral site, the Terps get a strong start from Jackson Smith as he pins down Lucas White in the first round, giving him a win. Next, here comes freshman Tyler Garvin, powering a takedown against Cone Bailey. From then on, it was all Maryland. Both teams got deducted a point after a post-match scuffle broke out, but the Terps got the win 38-1. We talked a lot about Brenda Frese and the hot start her squad has had this season. With all of the new faces, the team's chemistry is strong for just 5 games into the season.
Yeah, I had the chance to sit down with the national championship winning head coach about what the season might look like, even with those 7 new transfers. Take a listen.
You mentioned you've been here for 20 plus years. What's going to make this year different?
I think for us this year we need to stay healthy because we have all the pieces to be very, very successful. So, for us, the standard doesn't change. The consistency factor for us doesn't change, but all the pieces are there. And now, for us, fingers crossed, we just need to stay as healthy as possible. Really intentional that we wanted to go into the transfer portal and really kind of address the needs that we felt were glaring last season. So adding that depth, that experience, rebounding, scoring, a true point guard were invaluable, and we were able to address all of those needs. I get it. We were bringing in 15 players that are all winners, and they all want to play. And you only have one college career, so I understand that. I think how our program is built is based off of selflessness to be able to win championships. And so I think from our staff's end, I couldn't have a better staff to be able to assist when you have to have those kind of tough conversations that it's bigger than you when you play a team sport.
Yeah, and talking with head coach Brenda Frese, it was so clear that she was so confident with this group, and we've seen that so far early this season with their 5-0 start.
Yeah, and with the new transfers that she brought in, I'm curious to see how much of an impact they can continue to have when they have to play these conference games and tougher opponents like number 4 Texas coming up soon.
Yeah, it'll be real interesting. We can catch the full interview with me and head coach Brenda Frese on our YouTube channel at Terrapin Sports Central.
Now keep it here because when we come back, we'll play a game of Who Said It?
And as always, we'll hand our Terp of the Week and our Pro Terp Awards and go over our top 5 plays. Don't go anywhere.
Julie was always a voracious reader. She'd carry 2 novels on an airplane because she'd read one on a 3-4 hour ride. And at some point, I began to notice that she would read a page and couldn't remember what she had just read, and she'd have to go back and read it again.
I don't remember much these days after I read, but less does for me, and I love it.
Welcome back to the Left Bench, brought to you by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Drew Owens, here with Eddy Calkins. Eddy, as the fall season winds down, let's take a look at some of the best moments.
Yeah, Drew, let's have a little fun with it. It's time now to guess our Maryland knowledge in a game we like to call Who Said It?
Our producers picked 4 quotes from any Maryland athlete, coach, or really whatever they thought it was relevant. It's our goal to guess who said it, so let's get going.
Yeah, let's look at the first one here. Let's read it out loud here. He's a big boy. He'll be all right. Oh, geez. Okay, so.
Well, definitely
a
male sport. Yeah. So we had men's soccer, football, or even men's basketball.
Yeah, men's soccer.
Yeah.
I honestly think it's men's soccer. That's something sounds like head coach Sasso Sorofsky would say after a tough loss.
I think this is something that Willard would honestly say.
Okay,
honestly,
Willard.
after the whole Deshaun Harris-Smith, what happened on Friday night,
good point.
I think that this is what he said.
Okay, so you're locking Coach Willard. I'm going to lock in Coach Sasso Sorofsky.
Coach Willard. Yeah.
Sorofsky of the men's soccer team.
Let's see it.
See what it is. Oh my goodness! Look at you, Drew.
Already up.
Hot. Well,
starting
let's
up.
take a listen to that sound right now.
Yeah.
He's a big boy. He'll be all right.
Well, that was certainly a good round there, Drew. You are up 1 now. Here's our second one. Want to read it?
Yep, I'll read it. I was playing like LaMarvelous Jackson. I think this is a football quote from a football player.
I know the answer, but you can go for it.
Oh, really?
I do,
you know the answer.
I do. Well, let's hear your guess first.
Well, you know what? Lamar, He likes to run. We all know that. Lamar Jackson. He likes to run, but he also is a very versatile player. So I think it's either going to be Billy Edwards Jr. or Roman Hemby. So I think I'm gonna go Billy Edwards Jr.
Edwards Jr. Nice. Well, this is obviously Derik Queen after his 2020 game and his opening game, but I'm right. I know. I kind of watched that. I watched that presser live, so I kind of knew he said that. But let's toss this out just for fun because that was a great first game from the freshman.
So like I was playing like LaMarvelous Jackson, but.
All right.
All right. So 1-1.
1-1. You go ahead and read the third one.
All right. I'll be honest. I got a little bit of an attitude because I don't want no friends.
Well, this is definitely an athlete.
Yeah.
For sure, not a coach.
Friends have a lot of athletes. They have a bunch of teammates. But
Yeah.
I see. Yeah.
Let's see. I'll be honest. I got a little bit of an attitude because I don't want no new friends. Wow.
Yeah, I don't even know. Wow. Okay.
It's very bold.
So I think it probably is going to be. I'm going to go back to men's soccer and say it's Leon Kuhl. That's probably a terrible guess, but he's the only one that's making penalty kicks. So.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that can be a good one. Honestly, I think I might go Leon Kuhl as well. That makes the most sense to me. So
let's see who it
is.
Both locked in Leon Kuhl. It's
Michael Loxley.
I guess that's fair. I mean, we talked about it earlier in the show that they've had a kind of tough going, but let's toss it to that soundbite.
To be honest, I got a little bit of attitude because I don't want no new friends, man. I want us to stick on what we believe in, which is in each other.
All right, I can see that.
Yeah.
That was fair from Lox. He's got some work to do in the last 2 weeks.
The last one. Once I got in, brought the boom out there. Well,
it's clearly somebody who's hip because it's not a coach.
Not a coach.
Coach would never say I brought the boom or anything like that. Not doing any of that.
It could be an athlete, or it could be somebody from Terrapin Sports Central.
Oh, yeah, they do
remember,
like to do that.
They do like to do that. Not only that, but they said anything relevant.
Yeah.
And
our producers are kind of tricky out there.
And you know what's so funny? A few weeks ago, Nathan Schwartz and Jonas Evans did do the dance of "We Bring the Boom."
They did, yeah. So let's each pick one. I think it's Nate.
I was gonna take Nate.
Okay,
I was gonna pick Nate. I was gonna pick Nate.
Don't
Okay,
leave
then you
Jonas
can pick
hanging.
Jonas.
I'll take Jonas.
Okay.
She'll take Nate. Our producers at Terrapin Sports Central. Let's see who it is. Oh my goodness.
Oh.
That's so right. He did do the dance on that
Billy
big
Edwards Jr.
USC
did
win. Well, let's take a listen.
Yeah, once I got in here, I brought the boom out there in the end zone, so it was a good finish, but yeah.
Well, I mean, Nate and Jonas did say that, so I mean, I feel like
to be fair, we should both kind of got the point on that one.
Yeah.
They did the dance at the end of the show, so
yeah. I mean, we're gonna give us credit for that. They may not. We can throw that soundbite in later if we want.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, it is now time for some awards, and let's start with our Terp of the Week. We talked about the women's basketball team all show, so why not go with Kayleen Smichael, who's been on fire to start the season. Smichael dropped 21 points on Sunday in the Terps' blowout win over Towson. The Rutgers transfer scored 20-plus points in 4 of the Terps' first 5 games. She's also second in the Big Ten in total points scored this season. Congrats to Smichael on being crowned our Terp of the Week.
Our Pro Terp of the Week just put up his season high in points last Wednesday after coming off a season-ending injury last year. It's Sacramento Kings shooting guard Kevin Huerter. Huerter is in his 3rd season with the Kings and has been tearing it up. He's currently averaging 11.3 points per game and had a season-high 22 points in a 127-104 win against the Phoenix Suns. Congrats to Kevin on being named our Pro Terp of the Week.
All right, Drew, you know what time it is. Let's get to those top 5 players of the week. Why don't you get us started?
All right, at number 5, we've got Samantha Schnitta-Kill. Now, she leads the nation in aces, but we got a kill for this top 5, and she goes down, and bam.
Yeah,
that was a great one.
Pretty long shot. Here's Saylor Poffenberger with a deep 3 all the way. They were playing Towson a blowout win. That shot was basically from Towson. Deep 3 from the Terps.
And number 3, we got Jacoby Gillespie 3. Jacoby Gillespie has been an amazing impact for this Maryland basketball team so far this season.
And let's go to a Garvin game winner. Tyler Garvin, the freshman, seals the win for the Terps. down at South Carroll, where one of our executive producers, Nate Schwartz, went to high school. Big win for the Terps.
And of course, at number 1, we have got to go with Ty Felton's touchdown catch as he broke the single season record for receptions when he had 1,000 yards this weekend in this weekend's game against Rutgers. And Eddie, you're talking about a stat that has been probably broken by other wide receivers here. When you think about Maryland wide receivers, you think about Stephon Diggs, DJ Moore. Ty Felton could be in a league of his own. Yeah, absolutely. He did it in stunning fashion. I mean, saw that zoom up and almost, you only need 1 foot in college, but you basically got like 2.5, 3 feet. So great for Ty Felton. Yeah, that will be all for this edition of The Left Bench, but stay tuned for a special Tuesday episode of The Left Bench in Focus in the next few hours. You can keep up with us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and X. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.